Born from the fiery pages of the mightiest annals of the West comes the supreme saga in the great tradition of frontier drama.
Schwarzes.
Hi there, guys. It's episode 11 of the Westerns for Life podcast. And in today's episode, we are going to be talking about a somewhat controversial Western comedy directed by Mel Brooks, Blazing Saddles, starring Cleavon Little and Gene Wilder. Somewhat of a comedy classic and some would say controversial movie.
The plot.
So to a brief synopsis or plot of the movie, a corrupt politician, while being involved of a railway that's under construction, has come to a tricky situation where they have met a building point where they have to go through a quicksand area, but they decide to go through the town of Rock Ridge with millions of dollars at stake. And the politician sends his heavies to kind of get the locals out of Rock Ridge, which fails. But then he hires a black sheriff to be appointed in Rock Ridge to someday, hopefully, pull all the residents out and leave the town. So that is the main plot of the movie.
The characters.
So to the main leads. So we'll start off with Cleavon Little, who plays Bart, the railway worker turned sheriff. What did you think of Cleavon Little as Bart, Dan?
Honestly, I can't warm to this character. I was speaking to you a week ago or so, Carlos, about this, and you said that it should have been Richard Pryor to play this part, which I think would have worked a lot more. I would have had at least some feeling towards the character. I can't connect with him, in all honesty. Just seems wrong. Seems like he lacks charisma. Unfortunately, I've got no plus points to say about him. A couple of funny moments, but it's just one of them. No matter how much I try to gravitate towards this main lead, it's not doing anything for me.
Okay.
That's all I can say.
And you, Jeff?
Yeah, sadly, much of that the same applies to me. Yeah, just right out of the gate, I wasn't too big on this film. But we'll save that for reflections down the road. But in terms of the character, Cleavon Little, yeah, I thought he was okay, for the role. Like most of the things in this film, for me, serviceable, really. I do agree with what Dan said, that it might have been better if it was Richard Pryor, as that was originally intended. But no, Cleavon Little, I've seen him in a few other things. And I thought he was okay in this film. Not really, like Dan said, somebody to root for, not somebody you can connect with, really. I mean, so you can connect with his struggle, because obviously, as we get into some of the racism with this film, obviously he's the black man in this, very racist community and whatever. So you do sort of relate a little bit with that, I suppose. But yeah, other than that, not too much really, sort of positive things to say on the film as a whole and also on the character. But I thought he was okay. Let's leave it at that. Yeah.
Okay. He's a black man, is he? Oh, okay. Didn't realise. Yeah, Cleavon Little. I've got to agree with you guys. I've not seen him in a whole lot. I mean, I did have to check his career out on IMDb, and he was somewhat of a TV actor. He'd done a few movies and a bit of a theatre actor. It was okay. I can understand Mel Brooks maybe wanting to use him. I think Richard Pryor might have looked a bit too street if they wanted him to be a black man, if that really makes sense. I thought it was passable. I mean, he's not a natural comedian. That is clear from the get-go in a lot of the comedic scenes. But, you know, you'd think after this, with the success of this movie, he would have gone on to greater things. And there's not a lot in his career that I've noticed that he's really been in that I've watched. I think he was in one of the Fletch movies. I think Fletch Lives, which I've not seen for many, many years. But I think many people would realise, obviously, Richard Pryor was part of the screenplay. This movie really should have been featured Richard Pryor. His comedic genius skills would have been perfect for this movie. Unfortunately, it didn't happen because he was a bit of an awkward and unreliable at the time in his career. So, yeah, I mean, that's Cleavon Little. I thought he'd done okay without being fantastic. I mean, I went laughing a lot of the comedic scenes. So that's kind of my, you know, I haven't got negative things about him, but I haven't got I'm not jumping for joy when he is on screen, personally. But then the next main lead goes to Gene Wilder, who plays the Waco Kid, Jim, the Waco Kid. And he kind of turns up in the movie around about 30 minutes into the movie. Dan, what did you think of Gene Wilder's performance as the Waco Kid?
It's actually kind of my favourite part and the much needed part of the film when he comes in it. I think he's quite a special, Gene Wilder, and his performance, it seems quite a laid back one, but it's much needed as kind of a companion piece almost to Cleavon Little, because I think he's fairly wooden, and as you pointed out, not much great comedic timing, and Gene Wilder lends brilliantly to that. For me, the best part of the film, Gene Wilder, always great, is what I think.
Yeah, and as for me, I think I would agree with that. He's actually my favorite character, I think, in this film.
Okay.
It's actually funny. I've never really been the biggest fan of Gene Wilder, even in his sort of team also Richard Pryor. Never really been the biggest fan of him. But there's a handful of films I do enjoy him, and this is one of them. Well, having said that, again, it's a film I don't enjoy very much, but he's the enjoyable factor in it for sure. Yeah, I thought he played the part well. Definitely, he had the comedic chops, you know, for what was necessary. So yeah, nothing but really positive things to say about him, really. Gene Wilder, yeah, I think he's great.
Okay, in my opinion, I love Gene Wilder in his comedy movies. He's been in a few movies with Mel Brooks, the producers, which is, I've not seen that for many, many years. I'd say Young Frankenstein would be my personal favourite that they collabed together. In true honesty, I actually prefer the Gene Wilder movies with Richard Pryor, especially Silver Streak, Stir Crazy, and See No Evil, Hear No Evil. If I've said that right. I find those movies a whole lot more funnier. I thought he'd done okay in this one. It's not my favourite Gene Wilder performance, but he's a character needed for this movie for sure, as the Waco Kid. I kind of looked at the two characters, Gene Wilder and Cleavon Little, especially the scenes in the sheriff's office, kind of like the hangout scenes. They kind of looked like they were paying homage to Rio Bravo, quite a few of those scenes. And I thought they looked okay together on screen, but I do prefer Gene Wilder being a little bit more comedic, personally. It's not my favourite Gene Wilder movie, I must say, but he was okay. Not my favourite character in the movie, which we'll come to next. Slim Pickens, who kind of like a Western character regular, and he plays Taggart, kind of the leader of the gang who works for the politician of Hedley Lamar. What did you think of Slim Pickens, Dan?
Yeah, an interesting character. I said to you, he kind of reminds me of the that sheriff from The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance.
Oh yeah.
In a way, I don't know if there was any inspiration there, yeah, but he's kind of another one of these bumbling idiots, like clumsy, a bit like a Clouseau. Yeah, I mean, when I look back, I think some of him was actually quite funny, and the comedy from him was quite tolerable. But I think that's because it's just idiotic humour rather than some of it. I just feel a bit false and cringy. But him character, I quite enjoyed. I got to give him that. Yeah, Slim Pickens is all right.
Yeah, I would agree with that actually. Another character that I did find myself being more positive on, as opposed to some of the other characters and stuff in the film. Yeah, good call, Dan, on sort of him being similar to the sheriff in Liberty Valance. I didn't think about that, but that actually I can see that now. It might be a little bit of a homage, maybe. Yeah, no, yeah, I liked him. I think actually, yeah, Slim Pickens, he's been in a lot of westerns. I think actually, not to get too far, but I think he will actually feature in the film we're going to discuss on the next episode. I could be wrong, but I think he's in the next film. But yeah, no, a western character actor for sure, a regular character actor in westerns, and yeah, great to see him in this one. Even though, yeah, he might not be my favorite character, but he's definitely a close runner-up for me for this film. He's I did enjoy his time on screen. Yeah, definitely.
For me, Slim Pickens is the most the bit that I enjoy in the movie. I'm glad that he's got more of a role in this. For me, I think he's the third most important character. I think he has the most lines. I think he has some somewhat comedy moments. I mean, I weren't laughing out loud I've seen this movie 5 times, 3 times, ready for this for this episode. Yeah, I mean, interesting character. I think Dan's kind of paying homage to that bumbling sheriff in The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance is a good shout. I think he has one of my favourite lines in the movie where he's talking to Hedley Lamar, where he's kind of like a smooth politician, the way he words his sentences, I should say. And he says to him, "You use your tongue better than a $20 whore."
Yeah.
Which that kind of had me sniggering for a little bit. And some of the early scenes on the railroad where he's trying to get the most out of the workers. The quicksand scene is quite funny with Slim Pickens. I think he's the funniest character in the movie for me. He's been in many westerns, things like One-Eyed Jacks, Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. I also remember him in one of my favourite Stephen Queen movies, right at the end, in The Getaway. He's the guy that sells the van to Stephen Queen and Ali McGraw when they're trying to sort of they buy that vehicle off him. I always kind of have a smile when I see him pop on screen, and yeah, it's just nice to see him get somewhat of a decent part in a movie. So he would be my favourite character, an actor in this movie, Slim Pickens. So we go to our next sort of section where it's Women of the West.
Women of the West.
And interesting character here, played by Madeline Kahn, who plays kind of like a German entertainer, a woman for hire, Lily von Stupp.
Von Stupp, yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully that my German came out all right. So
yeah,
Dan,
that
what
was
did you
pretty
think?
good.
Dan, what did you think of Madeline Kahn?
Yeah, the 2.5 times I've seen this film, I don't, I don't mind her kind of a pronunciations or the lack of pronunciations of R's kind of gets overdone for me. She can't pronounce it R's at all. Um, and I didn't actually kind of register it in my head until you said, Carlos, that it's kind of like a parody of what's her name, Marlene Dietrich. I've never registered that, despite seeing
Yeah,
movies of her in.
yeah.
But again, this is where I've had time to reflect on this. There are a couple of funny moments from her, especially with the big German sausages after the kind of hanky panky scene. Yeah, she's okay. I say it does get irritating, but she's okay. It's nice to see a woman have a bit of a bigger part in a controversial
Yeah.
western like this. So, yeah, she's all right.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, it's not the strongest female character ever. I mean, let's be honest, but she had a quite substantial role for a female in this western, so that's definitely positive. Yeah, she was definitely a big parody of German women, especially Marlene Dietrich. Yeah, I mean, yes, she had some funny moments. I did chuckle a little bit with her scenes, especially the big scene where she said, "It's true, it's true, it's true." I thought that was
Yeah.
funny. And we're probably gonna get to that. Or it's true because she can't say the R. No, I like the character. I have fun with it. Again, for as much as I can with this film. I had fun with the character, yeah.
Yeah, I thought she'd done rather well. I mean, she was actually nominated for Best Supporting Actress. And even though she doesn't, I think she appears halfway through the movie. I thought she provided some light-hearted entertainment. The musical scene on stage wasn't. I don't know. I mean, people might have thought that was quite funny. But it kind of slowed it down for me when there's too many musical moments in the movie. I thought the accent. I thought she perfected it really, really well. I'm pretty sure, without checking, I think she's got some German in her family because Kahn, if I can remember, Dan, wasn't there a famous German goalkeeper, Oliver Kahn?
Yeah.
So I think that's quite. I wouldn't say it's a common surname, but it is a German surname. So I'm guessing there's some sort of German, or maybe Austrian or whatever, German family on the family tree, some history in their family tree. So I thought she perfected the German accent quite well. Decent part. And I do remember her in Young Frankenstein. But more recently, I do remember her being Burt Reynolds' bit in City Heat, which obviously was
She was in that.
10, 15 years or so later, or maybe less, maybe 10 years later, where he played Burt Reynolds' girlfriend in that movie. Other than that, I don't think I've seen her that much, but I thought she was pretty decent in the movie, Madeline Kahn. And obviously, there is some other actors which we'll briefly mention. We have Harvey Korman, who played Hedley Lamar, the corrupt politician, who does feature quite a bit in the movie. And we also have Mel Brooks as the governor.
And the Indian
guys,
chief.
what did you? Yeah, and the Indian chief.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does play the Indian chief. And also John Hillerman, who more people would recognise him as Higgins in the Magnum PI TV series, and also comedian Don DeLuise has a scene. So, guys, what do you think of those brief? Dan, what did you think of Harvey Korman and Mel Brooks in this movie? Briefly.
Yeah, Harvey Korman. started off well, and then there was the kind of repeated gags that he kept coming out with. It kind of wore a bit thin with me. All right, passable. Mel Brooks irritated the hell out of me. Honestly, I found the performance very cringy. And if I'm not mistaken, when he plays the Indian chief, is he not doing a Jewish accent?
Yeah.
He
Yes.
is, isn't he? Which I just don't get. But Mel Brooks was the worst thing about the film for me. I know he's a legend of the screen, but the worst thing, I really wince when I watch it. That's my faults.
Yeah, and same for me. Yeah, Mel Brooks really irritated me, especially. I found it so crazy that Indian chief character, speaking sort of like the Jewish slang, like Meshuggah and stuff like that. He was saying stuff like that, and I was like, an Indian chief speaking Jewish? This is what the hell is this about? Yeah, he didn't fare much better as the governor, to be fair, for me. Yeah, these were some of the characters I wasn't too big on, honestly. Again, characters I liked a bit more were the Gene Wilder character, Slim Pickens, and even to a certain extent, Cleavon Little himself. But yeah, these sort of ancillary characters, they didn't really do much for me.
Okay, yeah, Harvey Korman. I haven't seen him in a lot. I think he a television actor in a lot of American series. Passable. I thought he looked sort of like a typical corrupt politician that he loved to hate, sleazy at the same time. Didn't find a lot of his scenes that funny, if I'm really, really honest. I've got to agree with Dan on Mel Brooks. He may be a great writer and a great director, but I do get irritated when I do see him pop up on screen. The governor, I was more interested in his secretary rather than Mel Brooks's character as the governor, if I'm really, really honest. The Indian chief scene, now, this is how I took that scene. I think that was a bit of a pot shot at spaghetti western movies, where maybe it was a bit of a pot shot at Navajo Joe, where you had sort of, they tried to make him look too tanned for that character as the Indian, and obviously when he mixed it up a bit with a bit of Jewish, you can see the look on the black family. Even the little kid had his mouth open. So I think that was a little bit of a dig at some of these westerns, especially spaghetti westerns, where you'd get certain actors who didn't look Mexican, or certain actors who didn't look American, or playing certain parts that you think they don't fit the bill to play. That's how I took it. But yeah, Mel Brooks.
Gibson.
Yeah, Mel Brooks. I'd rather not see him on screen, to be honest. But yeah, they are some of the main actors and actresses in the movie. We also do have John Hillerman, who pops up as Johnson, because everybody in Rockridge is named Johnson. John Hillerman, more known for playing Higgins in Magnum PI. He's also in it, as well as Dom DeLuise in a brief moment. So just a brief mention on those two actors, Dan.
Yeah, for the brief moments they're both in. If you recognise the faces, you notice them there. I think the most memorable bit is obviously the name Johnson. I get a chuckle out of that, not just because of everyone's called Johnson, but it takes me back to Austin Powers when there's a huge Johnson going through space. So I always chuckle at that name. But yeah, I mean, you notice them if you know them. Otherwise, you'd miss it. They're there. Yeah. That's all I can say, really.
And I actually did notice them. So yeah. Yeah, I didn't really recognize or notice them until we now started talking about them. But yeah, again, they serviceable for the film. I would say, they're there. They have their brief moments. Yeah, not really too standout or memorable for me. Sorry to say.
Yeah, I kind of sort of Dom DeLuise is in it. Why? I thought the ending was a little bit stupid, in my opinion. But yeah, so that's all the actors and the actresses. Now we will talk about the director, Mel Brooks.
Behind the camera.
Dan, what do you think of the work of Mel Brooks?
Well, unfortunately, this isn't the only movie I don't like from him.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
quite often, I will always agree and have kind of a similar interest to my favorite director, Tarantino. But when he named Young Frankenstein as a perfect movie, I don't get it. I don't know what it is, but I just don't see the
Okay.
appeal of that. I don't see the appeal of Spaceballs, and I most certainly don't see the appeal of this movie. As I said earlier, I know he's a legend of the screen, but maybe his work's just not for me. And you can't call it outdated humour or screenwriting because I watch
Yeah.
humour right the way back to the 50s and laugh. It's just something that doesn't resonate with me at all. And I personally don't find this particular movie from him controversial because I've seen far, far worse. I find it really quite tame. But yeah, director, for some people, may love him as an actor, can't stand his performance in this. That's what I think.
Yeah, and as for me, I haven't seen all too many of Mel Brooks's works, to be fair, as a director or as an actor, or whatever. I think I've seen Spaceballs, and I didn't really get on with that film as well. Just judging on this film, then, I mean, there were some good shots in there. You know, cinematography and stuff. I thought that was all decent. So not really going to fault the directing in this per se. But yeah, I will say similar to Dan. Like again, I've seen a few other films. Just can't think of them. Think Producers. I might have seen that one. Seen a few other Mel Brooks, but I just never really got on with pretty much any of them, to be honest. It's just not for me. Yeah, this film definitely been a perfect example for it. I mean, I saw it once many years ago. Never really cared too much for it. I tried to pick it up again until Carlos, you said you wanted to do this for this episode. I picked up the Blu-ray again, and obviously I can't see myself revisiting this film anytime soon in the near future. Yeah, Mel Brooks, and not really my cup of tea. Let's put it that way. Yeah.
Okay, so Mel Brooks, not a big fan of him. I must say, I have seen The Producers. Young Frankenstein would probably be my favorite that he did. Tarantino called it a perfect movie. Not for me. It's okay. It's good. I wouldn't say it's not a great comedy movie. I prefer a lot more. I sort of agree with what Dan says. I mean, the movie's well shot, but I don't know, maybe it's my sense of humor. It didn't really have me cracking up. I do get it. It's an anti-racism movie, and they try to poke fun at it, and also poke fun at the Western genre. But I've seen Western comedies that I much prefer to Blazing Saddles, if I'm really honest. So yeah, that's my kind of opinion on Blazing Saddles. Now I know it's a classic. I've tried to watch it. This is the fifth time watching, and yeah, it's not a great Western comedy for me, even though other fans absolutely adore the movie.
Yeah.
So we go on to the next feature, which is favorite scenes.
Favorite scenes.
Dan, if you have any.
Okay, so we don't particularly do like worse scenes, do we now? So
Yeah.
I'll give you
could do worse scenes. Yeah.
I'll give you something as brief as possible with this film. Now, this was billed to me back when I was 18 or 19. This guy who was training me said, "You've got to get this film. It is side-splittingly funny. The funniest thing you're ever going to watch. The scene around the campfire will just have you cracking up." I bought this film. I watched this film, and from the moment I thought, I quite like. I can't get a kick out of Champagne, Cleavon Little singing that. I like that kind of music. So I thought, oh, that's quite good. The whole quicksand scene with the cart, quite good. And you keep fast forwarding, and then you get to this scene around the campfire where they're all farting from eating beans, and it's the perfect example of overdoing something where it just becomes not funny. It becomes like an irritant in your ear, and it's like, what is this? How can people find it's beyond immature at some point? And that really, it annoyed me the first time. It annoyed me even more this time. I don't have a favourite scene apart from probably that song. I can't get a kick out of Champagne. I wanted more of that. I just struggle. It's a film that irritates me. That this will not be in my collection anymore. That's why I bought the old Snapper case again. Irritates me.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to be a little positive. Pick out a couple of scenes that did sort of work for me. Yeah, the quicksand scene I thought was okay. I was like, okay, well, this is good. Yeah, I'm gonna say the campfire scene irritated the shit out of me as well. I was like, is this what we reduced to, like freaking adolescent fart jokes? Yeah, not for me. The two scenes that's what had me chuckling. I mean, it's something when you say it's a comedy, and I didn't really laugh out loud, in the big time once, really. There were just a few bits that had me chuckling a little bit, but that's about it. And the one scene that made me chuckle a bit was when Cleavon Little goes outside in the city, in the town, I should say, and the old woman is there, and he says, "Good morning, ma'am," and she's like, "Get out of here, you N-word." I'm not gonna say that. I'm piss off N-word or something like that. I can't remember the exact line, but that did have me chuckling a bit. And yeah, like I said, the quicksand scene, and then also the scene I mentioned earlier with Von Stupp, where she says, it's two. Did like that for some reason. I thought, yeah, that's a bit funny. I chuckle a bit out of that. But other than that, really, it's supposed to be a comedy. People say it's the funniest thing you'll ever see. But yeah, I didn't really find myself laughing in a big way, even once, to be fair. So yeah, it's a misfire of a comedy for me. So not really too many favorite scenes.
Sorry, could I just say something? When you were saying about the farting scene, overdone in this, for sure. But a complete contrast to when you watch Eddie Murphy in Nutty Professor. That's true comedic timing. Makes it funny. You know the scene? So it can be done. Just this become cringy and irritating.
Yeah.
So I do find farts funny. I wanted to point it out, but not to this degree.
I think I remember when a lot of people were talking about this. This was a big VHS rental that was very popular in the UK, Blazing Saddles, because quite a few people was telling me to watch Blazing Saddles, and they were referring to that eating beans scene, which I get, because in westerns all they do is eat beef jerky and beans. And I'm pretty sure Blazing Saddles was like the first movie included in a movie, the overdone fart noises. Now, I think they've done it over a little bit over. They went OTT on it, in my opinion. I mean, Dan's given a perfect example. It can be done right, just maybe a little bit too over the top. Yeah, I mean, favourite scenes. The quicksand scene, I think, is quite funny when they kind of lasso the rail cart out of the quicksand, and they left Bart and his buddy in there, which Slim Pickens, he made that scene funny. His timing was pretty good. But I do enjoy the locals from Rock Ridge when they are ready to see the new sheriff arrive, and you get the bell ringer when he realizes that and he shouts out, "There's a come in," and it hits the bell. So he says the N word.
Yeah.
Obviously, the locals don't hear it because the bell is ringing. I thought that was an enjoyable scene, and also as soon as he walks into town, the whole locals are literally gobsmacked. They just can't believe who's just popped into town and is the new sheriff. So, yeah, without being too, I wasn't side splitting me ribs on that. I did find that quite humorous. But I got to agree with Dan and Jeff on this. Again, maybe I do get the movie. It's an anti-racism movie that trying to kind of knock down racism. So I watched it for that and over quite a few times to kind of really like the movie. But it's just the comedy style of it. I just didn't find it very, very funny. It's humorous, yeah, but maybe a little bit too silly for me.
The Review Roundup.
So we go on to the next bit, our ratings for the movie, which is, I dare ask, which is I think it's going to be quite similar to all three of our opinions. So we'll see how many cowboy hats we shall give for this movie. Dan, without being too critical or generous.
Yeah.
Wait for it.
It's a struggle with this one. As I say, it can't. I don't know. Maybe it's just a humour thing, but I look back and there's loads of other things I like with overdone humour, silly humour, like Police Academy. I like most of them. That's overdone, overused. And I can't help thinking if Richard Pryor was in this, it would have made the movie so much better. It just misses. The leading character's not strong enough for me. And yeah, maybe if I watched it at the time, if I was born, and was old enough to watch this when it come out, you may think, oh, this is fresh, new for the time, and it might resonate a bit better for you. I will say, because of its popularity and the diverse opinions it gives, it's worth everyone at least giving a watch if you haven't seen it, because I'm always interested in, and it's like one of them films I look at as one of the wonders of the world. I just can't get the fascination with it. So I always like to hear people's opinions, and I have to rate it on the craftsmanship of it, because it is well made, but it just doesn't work for me, the characters and humour, and I could have quite easily give it a 3. I'm gonna go for a 4.5. I think that's me being a little generous. 4.5 cowboy hats.
Okay. Jeff?
And ironically enough, it will be similar to what my rating for will be. No, like I said, it's a comedy that falls completely flat for me. Might be because I'm just not a fan of this sort of comedy. I mean, the Police Academy films, I know a lot of people are fans of it. Again, it's not something that I've ever been a fan of. And even, if we go to the flip side of the coin of Western genre, if we go to the spaghetti Westerns for a minute, to the Italian West, even when they went comedy with the slapstick and the Terrence Hill, Bud Spencer stuff, not for me, not my thing. I despise the trendy films. So yeah, it's just not my sort of thing. A Western for me with comedy, it shouldn't really be overdone or OTT or sort of in the slapstick fashion. I prefer a more dry sort of humor, more dark humor, I guess. However, again, like I said, this film is well made. I know it has its fans. I just quickly looked at IMDb. It has a 7.7 IMDb, so there are definitely fans of the film. There's an audience for it. It's just not me. However, like I said, the film is well made. Mel Brooks did do a good job with the directing. There were some good shots in there, cinematography, and some, one or two nice landscape shots and stuff like that. However, like I said, it's a comedy that falls flat for me personally. So it's my cowboy hat rating out of is 4 cheap Chinese knockoff cowboy hats out of a 10.
Nicely put, Jeff.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I've tried to like this movie. When I watched it first time, I wasn't a fan of it. Um, People watching this episode might probably say, Carlos, Eastwood for Life fan, maybe you just didn't understand the comedy. It's true, I'm not a big fan on Western comedies, but when they are done right, they can be really good. Way Out West, Lauren Hardy, absolutely love that movie. My favorite Lauren Hardy movie. Hilarious. Cat Ballou with Lee Marvin and Jane Fonda is one that I really enjoy. And a little bit more modern, you could say Maverick with Mel Gibson and Jodie Foster. So there are a few Western comedies as examples that I really, really do enjoy. But this one, it really does. A lot of the gags kind of go over my head quite a bit. I think a lot of that's got to do with Cleavon Little. I absolutely love Richard Pryor. In a lot of that, if he had popped in this movie, I think he would have really turned it on, providing he was, allowed to do his kind of offensive material. I think it could have been a lot more up my alley for sure. But I got to give this a 5. I mean, I gave it a 4, but then rewatched it again and I gave it a 5. So it's an average. Some of the characters I enjoyed, some of them I didn't. Some of the scenes were sort of passable, some of them silly, and the odd 1 or 2 moments were good. So yeah, Blazing Saddles, 5, Cowboy Hats. So it's an average watch. But like Dan says, I think people should give it a watch because maybe a younger movie fan might appreciate it a lot more. I think when I watched it, I was kind of in my teens, but I was kind of a more of an adult teen. The farting scene, I didn't find it over hilarious, to be honest. It was kind of, yeah, okay, they're farting. And so, yeah, 5 Cowboy Hats for me. Any trivia to be added?
I've got no trivia on this. No.
Oh yeah. Besides the fact that Cleavon Little was originally supposed to be Richard Pryor, but then I think Richard Pryor had issues with his drug abuse or stuff like that around this time that prevented him from taking the role. Yeah.
I do know John Wayne was considered a role in this, and he actually liked the idea. Believe it or not, yeah, he actually
can't see
did.
the Duke in this.
he actually liked the idea, but I think when it came down to whether he was going to be the Waco Kid, I think when it come down to it, image-wise, it might not have been a good idea for him to appeared in this movie because it kind of would have taken a knock on his Western movie image of all the characters that he played. So I know he did say to Mel Brooks that he would watch the movie, but he had to decline on the offer. And I do know with the success of this, they actually made a TV series with Lou Gossett Jr., which they had a pilot movie. But the problem is there with a TV movie and a TV series, you're going to have to kind of delete a lot of the offensive sort of lines. So it was never going to work.
Yeah.
So after the TV pilot movie, I think the series actually got cancelled. Yeah, so that's a little bit of trivia in Blazing Saddles. So Dan, whose pick is next on our next episode, episode 12, what will we talk about in the next episode?
So yeah, I've decided to pick which was a recommendation very early on from a reviewer. It may have been Jalapeno J. Am I correct?
I think so. Yeah, I think he asked us to do this one. Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought I like this Western. Nice, good run time on this one. It's a 1975 movie starring the great Charles Bronson, Breakheart Pass. So yeah, I look forward to a revisit on this for episode 12.
12, yes. And a quick editor's note, I did say earlier, Slim Pickens wasn't that. I actually was mistaken that with another Charles Bronson Western with a snowy setting. I was thinking of The White Buffalo, which Slim Pickens. I just wanted to correct that before anybody else did. Yeah.
Yeah, so Break Up Pass is the next one. Any comedy scenes in that then, Dan?
Well, we rewatch it, discuss that one.
I think Bronson has a few more dry, funny moments in that.
Yeah, but so guys, that is Western. That's the episode 11 of the Westerns for Life podcast of Blazing Saddles. Do we want to talk about the editions that we have, because it's available and it's going to be it's going to be getting a 50th anniversary release on 4K, which I don't think Dan is going to purchase, or Jeff, or myself,
or me.
But I do have this basic release. Dan got
I've got the old snapper case. The
original cover, as I remember it. Yeah,
it's not staying on my shelf either. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, and I've got that. If I just take the background off, I got that same Blu-ray that you got, Carlos. My freaking camera zooming in all over the place, but this is look, it's more interested in Arnie. Look at that. Yeah,
technical difficulties.
But no, I got that same Blu-ray. Yeah.
Nobody's going for the 50th anniversary collector's edition on 4K. Unfortunately,
none of us. No. Okay, back to Almeria.
You're back on now. So that wraps up episode 11 of the Westerns for Life podcast. Guys, let us know what you think of this movie, whether you loved it, liked it, or hated it.
And now it's time to grab a quick whiskey and a saloon back there. So yeah.
To episode 12, where we about the Charles Bronson Western from the 1970s, Break Up Pass. Jeff, you want to take it away?
Absolutely. And again, quick reminder for if you are listening on other platforms, or if you want to listen to us on other platforms, you can do so. We are available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that good stuff. Just type in Westerns for Life, the Westerns for Life podcast in your Google search engine or whatever. It'll come up. And with that having been said, Westerns for Life, and we'll see you all in the next episode for Breakheart Pass with Charles Bronson. Westerns for Life, amigos.
He rode a blazing saddle, he wore a shining star. His job to offer battle to bad men near and far.
What's your name?
Well, my name is Jim, but most people call me Jim.
Well, do your best. Now, let's see. Where were we?
Oh, Rock Ridge.
Rock Ridge. I want that land. Clumsy fool.
I'm sorry.
Wait a minute. There might be a legal precedent. Of course. Land snatching. Let's see. Land. Sea snatch.
Hello, handsome. Is that a 10-gallon hat?
So just sign this right here.
Oh, okay, give us a hand here.
All right, sir.
Work.
Okay,
folks, let's wipe them out! The heroic sheriff rallies his citizens in the wildest finish the West has ever seen, or the movies have ever shown.
Ow! Oh! Ow! Have you ever seen such cruelty?